Welcome to the Mojo Podcast with me, Richard Stokes. This is a place where my guests share the secret of their mojo, the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows. We meet here every 2 weeks to hear from fascinating people with a mojo story to share. And this episode marks the last in the 4th series. I've been talking to a diverse group of founders about what mojo means to them as an entrepreneur and as a leader. And it's been one of my favourite series so far for many reasons. Meeting amazing new people, reconnecting with some old friends, and sharing that special sauce that all successful founders have. Indeed, so much insight has been shared in this series that I've committed to distill as much of this as possible into one final episode to come to you within the next couple of weeks. It'll be a bite-sized summary of all the good stuff you've heard in these 10 episodes. A mini mojo growing episode, so watch this space. Before that, we have a superb conversation to finish the series with. And this one is special for many reasons. It's with an old friend who has done amazing things with a hugely successful startup in the food and beverage sector. And it was a conversation I had with him over 3 years ago that helped sow the seed of an idea that eventually became the Mojo Podcast. So I've been keen to almost recreate that chat actually. But what with the COVID pandemic, living in different countries and busy diaries, it's taken us a while to make it happen. But here we are, and this one is so well worth waiting for. Indeed, you could say patience is one of my guests' core lessons in business, and it's a core theme for today's episode.
Working for those 4 companies was, I'd say, was the best apprenticeship for me to launch my own business. So I say that those 19 years I had in media was a 19-year apprenticeship to help me launch Lovecorn.
My guest today is Jamie McCloskey, the co-founder of Lovecorn, the fast-growing snack brand. I've known Jamie for at least 15 years. We used to work in the same industry, in advertising and media. Never for the same companies, but we always got on really well. Indeed, you'll hear a lot in this about Jamie's relentless but very genuine focus on relationships and partnership in his previous career and now. And this episode is chock full of inspiration. If you're in a place where you're thinking about a move or a change of direction, and you're wondering if you have the skills and the strengths for that new thing, I'll bet that you have. And Jamie shines a light on how to transfer skills, but also, and more importantly, how to bring an abundant mindset to a new challenge. As you'll hear, he spent his career working for various challenger brands in the media sector, and he relishes being a challenger, even an underdog in snack food. Different industry, but the same mindset. I really loved recording this one. Always a joy to spend time with Jamie and to hear about the success that he's realised based on focus, tenacity and passion for what he does. And I hope you'll love it too, and that you've enjoyed all 10 episodes in the series so far. So do look out for that summary episode coming in the next couple of weeks. And the good news is the Mojo Podcast will return in September for another series. And can I ask you one more thing? Please do go and navigate the Apple Podcast app and find the review section. A few words from you takes this podcast to more and more people who may well find it as powerful and as useful as you do. Okay, now let's go and grab some snacks and get into this Mojo conversation with Jamie McCloskey from Lovecorn. So welcome back to the Mojo Podcast, and this is the last episode of this 4th series, which has just been an absolute joy to put together and talk to all these amazing founders. And have I got an amazing guest for you today? We're going over to London to talk to a good old friend of mine, Jamie McCloskey, co-founder of Lovecorn Snacks. Jamie, how you doing?
Yeah, really good. Good to see you, Richard.
Very nice to see your face. Now, we tried to do this actually in real life, didn't we? We tried to get together.
Yeah, attempted to. But unfortunately, just back and forth to the US and try and tie in diaries is tough.
Yeah, I was trying to get you over to Ibiza so we could actually sit down with some snacks and a beer and do this together. As we said, you know, a chat we had in the summer of 2019 kind of gave me the gem of an idea to create this podcast, and so I've only been waiting the 3 years to get you on.
Good things come to those that wait.
Just what I was thinking before we started. Exactly that. And all that, you know, your busy diary, the life of a founder. That's absolutely what I'd love to get into today. But you know the form. My first question is to check out how you're doing today. So what's your mojo between 1 and 10 today, Jamie?
I say it's 8.5.
Very precise. Okay. What's going on behind the 8.5?
Well, I was in the US last week, so I was in LA at the weekend. We had a big sampling event at the LA Fit Expo. We handed out about 30,000 bags, which was amazing.
Wow.
And then got back from LA on Monday. So yeah, and then got back into the office yesterday. So it was good seeing the team. And I think 8.5 is 8.5 out of 10 for today is good.
Yeah. Okay. And is it? Are you normally operating at that sort of level?
Yeah, 8.5 is pretty consistent, and then some days you might hit a 9. But if I think about my mojo, it is fortunately or unfortunately linked directly to Lovecorn and how Lovecorn's doing.
Right. Okay. So now it's totally plugged into the business, the brand.
Yeah. Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, but yeah, everything revolves around Lovecorn, and I've always to simplify it. When the momentum's good with Lovecorn, my mojo is, between 8.5 to 9. Lots of momentum at the moment. So yeah, feeling pretty good.
Good. And so your mojo completely linked now to the success of the brand of Lovecorn. But what does mojo mean to you then?
Well, to simplify, just waking up every day energized and excited to, start the day and do some good stuff. And I think post COVID, just getting up and getting out of the house and getting into the office. So I'm currently sat in the WeWork in Shoreditch, and this is our 7th office space since we launched in Jan 2017 from my kitchen table. And just getting up and out and getting into the office, and just feels good.
So it's quite an early morning. It's that wake up moment of, right, this is how I'm feeling right now. This is where my mojo is at, and I'm going to seize the day by the sounds of it.
Yeah, 100%. And we're in this fortunate position where there's a lot of momentum in the business at the moment. Got lots of new launches with retailers, new products. So there's plenty to do, which obviously really helps with the motivation and getting up and out. So
I definitely want to go back to you sitting at your kitchen table back in 2017 in a minute. But just to give people a little bit of context about, where the business and the brand Lovecorn is right now. You've talked a lot about, and I know this isn't simply a UK business. This is an international business with huge operations in a huge market like the US. So can you paint a picture about what's going on with the brand right now?
Yeah, to give a bit of background, so we are a family-led business. So it's me, my brother, and his wife as co-founders. We launched a business in Jan 2017 in Planet Organic, and fast forward today, we're in all the major retailers in the UK. We're starting to make really good traction in the US. My main role is focusing on driving the UK revenue. So we're in all the major retailers. We're in Sainsbury's, Tesco's, Waitrose, Morrison's, Asda. And we're now up to a team of 10 in the UK, which is great.
And all this growth in, this is 5 years essentially then since it began.
We launched a brand in Jan 2017, and we're the UK's first crunchy corn brand. And we'll position ourselves as that feel-good alternative to crisps, nuts, and pretzels. And we're very fortunate that within the first 4 months of launch that we managed to get a meeting with Sainsbury's in the April of 2017. The buyer ate a bag in the meeting. So regardless of the presentation that I was showing her, the product was selling itself because she was enjoying the product, which is one of the most important things the most important thing in food and beverage. I always say in food and beverage, brand and product have to be equal. One why someone picks you up the first time is because of the brand, and then the way you drive repeat purchase is through amazing product. And we were very fortunate. Like at the end of that meeting, the buyer said, "I want to launch you in September." So I was only in a few months after the first meeting in 900 stores.
Wow. I mean, let's take a slight time out here, because is that normal?
No, that wasn't the norm, but the buyer really believed in the brand and the product. And so yes, we launched in September in 900 stores. It was amazing. And at the same time, then we also launched in 100 WH Smiths. So within our first 9 months, we were in 1,000 stores.
Wow. There's many reasons why I was keen to get you on, but partly because you are, and you have created a product and a brand. Now, lots of the founders I've spoken to have created businesses that are brands, but they have the ability to get that brand to market is kind of up to them, really. You go and talk about it and you start selling in services. These essentially knowledge-based businesses, but here's yours. Yours is not. Yours is entirely reliant on someone having belief in what you believe in, i.e. the buyer. So how was that?
Yeah, everything comes down to just having amazing tasting product. And like, I didn't go to another Me Too product. I didn't go to it with another crisp or another form of crisp. I didn't go to it with another nut or another type of popcorn. It was something unique that she didn't have on our shelf. And as soon as she tasted it, she was like, "Wow, this tastes great." And with Love Corn and the brand we've created, it's mainstream. Ultimately, you need to have a mainstream brand to have success at the mainstream retailers like Sainsbury's and Tesco's. And if you simplify what mainstream is, the mainstream customer is just looking for great tasting product at an affordable price. Secondary is the health benefits. And we tick those boxes. Like we're the trends. We're gluten-free. We're minimal sugar. We're plant-based.
Yeah.
But for that mainstream shopper at Sainsbury's or Tesco's, it's all about having those mainstream qualities, and that's what Love Corn has. But everything comes back down to the product. And what's great now is I've become really good friends with the buyer, with my old buyer, Lauren. So we're still good friends. I think what we demonstrated with Sainsbury's is we've got this real partnership, relationship mindset. And I think that comes from my previous background and the world me and you used to be in, which is the media world.
Yeah. So let's dive into that. So let's go a bit further back than 2017 when you launched, because I'd love to talk about this. I remember us talking about this extensively in the last few years. Your previous career and all those skills and strengths that you developed and how they have been useful for you. Because I think, people listening to this, I'm not suggesting everyone's going to be launching a food and beverage brand, but they might be thinking of making some kind of switch, some kind of change. And I know your story is really interesting in that area. What are your kind of reflections on it?
Yeah, so I started work when I was 18. I didn't go to university. Started work at the time it was a company called TDI, which is now global, which is basically to sell all of the advertising on the buses and the underground.
Right. So that's people in London will notice. Well, you can't help but notice all of Global's, real estate, all the ads you see, right? Okay, so that was you selling bus sides.
And when I joined that company, they were a challenger brand in outdoor.
Right.
And it's only recently that I've started reflecting that of the 4 companies that I worked with in media sales, so I worked at TDI, which is a challenger brand at the time in outdoor. Then I joined JC&Co, which obviously is the largest outdoor company in the world. But when I joined them, they were the challenger brand in outdoor in the UK. They'd only just launched. Then I joined Virgin Radio. They were the challenger brand in radio. And then when I joined AOL, they weren't the big internet business that they were from previous years. So again, we're the challenger brand to the likes of MSN, Yahoo, Facebook and Google. And at the time, I didn't appreciate it. But actually working for those 4 companies was, I'd say, was the best apprenticeship for me to launch my own business. So like, I say that those 19 years I had in media was a 19-year apprenticeship to help me launch Lovecorn. And if I hadn't had that working for those challenger brands where you do need to work a bit smarter and come up with more creative ideas and have better customer service, and a lot of it's relationship led. And what I didn't realize was that's how I was trained at those 4 companies. So then when I came to launch Lovecorn, I just brought that mentality into food and beverage. And it's funny because I have my media mates now asking, oh, what's it like working in food and beverage? I was like, to be fair, it's not that much different to when I was in media sales. It's like how I approach my relationship with Sainsbury's is no different to how my approach to a media agency, and how I treat the buyer at Sainsbury's was no different how I used to treat you as a planner buyer at Zenith.
Right. Because this is how we go quite a long way back in this regard. And you would come to me with ideas and opportunities and pitch them at me, so I'd take them to my clients. And I always remember, if I was, relationship was always your key thing. Always.
Correct.
Like if you said you'd do something, you would. You were very good at, we were talking just before about when you were at Virgin Radio and obviously had all the access to amazing gigs, and music is a key passion of mine, so you'd take me to a lot of those. Thank you very much. But yeah, that real focus on these are the key relationships that are going to stand me in good stead and lead to a good flow of business, I guess.
And also it made me thick-skinned.
Right. Okay. Say more about say more about
that. Because guess what? When I was at AOL, it would be Google, Facebook, the first 2 on the plan.
Yeah.
Then it would probably be MSN, Yahoo, and then we'll probably be 5th or 6th.
Right. So in that instance, you're not even the second challenger brand. You're right down the list.
Yeah. So we had to work really hard to get access to the briefs. People weren't returning my emails or my phone calls, which is why then relationships were so important. And guess what? Everyone thinks that Lovecorn's been this massive success, but it's taken a lot of hustle to get the retailers to respond to your emails, and thinking of creative ways to get them to respond to you, because they're so time poor. And guess what? My buyer's main priority is going to be the likes of KP and Walkers and Greys. So when I'm launching Lovecorn, it's like I had this thick skin about me, and that was just because of 19 years in media, and having this tenacity is how I was trained in those companies.
Yeah,
it's funny because people ask me what is the 2 main skill sets you need launching your own business. And I said you need to have tenacity and patience at the same time. It's a bit like an oxymoron. It's like, you've got to keep chipping away, but being patient, knowing that on the buyer's priority list that Sainsbury's and Tesco's and Waitrose, Lovecorn's not at the top of their priority. So you just got to be patient and just be clever about how you get their attention.
So, right, I'm an absolute gold duster there, mate. So tenacity and patience, and it's not an oxymoron, it's how they work together. So almost one is, tenacity is kind of self-driven. You can choose to be tenacious and you can go about it, as you say, in creative ways. Now, patience, that's reciprocal, because you are waiting on a response, in this case from a buyer in a large supermarket, to come back to you. So what, in that moment, when you've done what you think you can do, and you now I've instead of chasing with another thing, I just need to hold, I need to wait, I need to believe. How do you do that? What's the secret sauce there?
Well, I think this is what my brother and I talk about a lot is like the only thing that we can really control are the inputs. And whatever happens to the outputs is normally out of our control. But as long as we're putting the right inputs in, then that's the best all we can do. So first and foremost, the best inputs that we've done is we've created an amazing brand and an amazing product. So our attitude is, it's not a no, it's just not now. Our attitude is that we're going to be in every retailer and every store within the next 5+ years. And we just got to keep chipping away. So I look back in 2017, it's like I sent multiple samples to Tesco's in 2017 and I finally managed to get a meeting in the Jan 2018.
Right.
And I probably had about 3 different buyer changes across that time. But for me, it was just about just being consistently following up, but doing it in a thoughtful way. And just constantly giving them good news, constantly following up with more samples.
Say more about the good news. What do you mean by that?
We launched in Jan 2017 in 7 Planet Organics. And at the time, it was just me, my brother, and his wife. Gavin and Missy had moved back to the UK because they're based in the US. They were back living with my mum in Finsbury Park, and we were kind of working out of my flat. And we knew the importance of Planet Organic, even though it was only 7 stores, as a case study when we finally did get a meeting for a Sainsbury's or a Tesco's. And we were just in those stores sampling every weekend. Like, but by the end of month 3, we knew all the store managers and all the people on the store floor by their first names. And I always remember the Planet Organic buyer in the April going, Jamie, you've only launched 3 months. And out of my 88 snack brands, barbecue ranks 5, sea salt ranks 6th, and habanero ranks 8th in sales. So that's just amazing gold. So again, just drip feeding that through to the retailers. Hey, just so you know.
See.
Then we were a Virgin startup, and we got a Virgin startup loan. And then off the back of that, we were able to get onto Virgin Trains. So then all of a sudden it's like, hey, we're now on Virgin Trains. And then you send that email through to the buyer. And then we actually launched an airline show called WTCE. That was in the 2016. And then off the back of that, we launched in Norwegian Airways in the April. So then again, another email going, hey, we just launched on Norwegian Airways. And then because of my media background, we managed to get into Google. And there's this whole food service division called Restaurant Associates. And Restaurant Associates, they do all of the food and beverage for the likes of Google and HSBC and Citibank.
Oh, is this for the staff? So they have their free breakfast, lunches, and snacks, obviously.
And they brought us in as their hero product in the April. So within the first 4 months, we had all this and they're only tiny little pieces, but it kept dripping through each tiny bit of news. And it's like, it feels like there's some momentum going. So when I finally got the meeting with Sainsbury's in the April, and we've been only been going 4 months, I was able to show the buyers. At that point, we launched in Planet Organic. We were in Selfridges, Harvey Nichols, As Nature's Intended. Then we got onto Norwegian Airlines. Then we got onto Virgin Trains, and then we were the Restaurant Associates hero product. So it's like all this amazing news and logos for my deck, and it just kind of validated us to the buyer.
Got it.
And that's what we do all the time now. I always say to the team, it's like, we've got loads of amazing news. Don't send it all in one go. just drip feed it through. It's about just creating the going back to that word, momentum.
Yes.
I think you're going back to your original question, like how do I keep my mojo? It's completely linked to momentum of the business. And I suppose that's for anyone in life. If you've got momentum in your life, then you've got your mojo. And as soon as that momentum stops, and for most of us, that happened in March 2020, then I think we've all had to readjust what momentum looks like.
Absolutely. And there's just, so many amazing takeouts in that last sort of passage of what you said. But I wrote momentum down again at the top of my page here as a bit of a summary, as you said, summary of what Mojo means to you and what you need and what the business needs. It sounds like they're, as you say, inextricably linked together, and you found these ways of creating this momentum, which are, again, vital to the business, but vital to you as well. In those moments of challenge when the Tesco buyer isn't coming back to you. But I love this, as I think you said about you and your brother, you were deciding, you chose what we can control are the inputs. We can't control the outputs, i.e. we're controlling the controllables. Our end will do that. And then trust in, as you say, your product and your brand every time, and kind of look what happens.
Yeah, and again, actually, I always have a lot of respect for sole founders out there. Because, when you have those when the momentum's not there, at least I've got my brother and his wife as fellow co-founders for us to help with that when those down times are happening. For those sole founders out there, sometimes it must be, I have so much respect for them, because when the momentum slows down for those guys, where do they turn to?
Well, yeah, and that is, you won't be surprised, that as a recurring theme on this series. I've talked to lots of co-founders, duos, and they've all talked about, when my mojo is low, I can rely on my partner, my business partner, who tends to be higher, because it's sort of going in cycles, or maybe we're both on a bit of a low mojo hit, but we can understand it and we can share it, and then that in turn might lead to okay, let's change something, let's do something different, new tack, boom, we're getting back to your lovely word, momentum again. And talking about, I sort of noted when you're talking about, you launched with your brother's wife, and you're sort of getting into maybe some of the, this is my word, not yours, but some of the sacrifices that probably had to be made. You mentioned they sort of moved back in with your mum. You were talking in there a lot about, all the weekend working that was going on when you were sampling in the early days at Planet Organic. Tell me a bit about the sacrifices of being a founder.
It's funny because I don't think I've made sacrifices, because I enjoy it. For me, this isn't work. And I think me and you've had this conversation previously. It's like, I look back at my 19-year career in media with such fond memories, but I'm happy to be out of it. And so for me, I don't think I've made that many sacrifices, because I'm doing something I love. And for me, it's not work. And last week I flew from the UK to LA to New Jersey, then back to LA to do this event at the weekend. So my body clock's all over the place. And we handed out 30,000 bags at the weekend to about 8,000 fitness fanatics from LA. So you can imagine what those types are like. And everyone was just loving the corn. And so I just left that event energized.
Right. Back to the energy.
And what excites me is no one's heard of us. We did Brew London, big craft beer event a few weeks ago at Printworks. Again, we handed out 16,000 bags that weekend. And just the reaction from the customers or the consumers on the brand and the product was just amazing. So even though I worked last weekend and that weekend, for me, it wasn't really working, because I'm out there spreading the love with Love Corn, and everyone that has it leaves with a smile on their face.
Yeah. So there's something, is it about just how tangible your product is? Because it is, it's a food, it's a snack. It's great. People get immediate sense of what it's about, gratification from it, versus, and this, just to try this idea with you, the jobs we used to do when working in media and advertising, you were a distance probably from the impact of what you were doing. Is there something in that?
Yeah, because we're just living and experiencing it every day, from sampling events and the Instagram posts from our customers telling us how much they love the brand and we're their new favorite snack. So every day, the team and I are just getting, again, use that word, energized, because it's like, wow, did you see that? Did you see that post from that customer? Or did you see that email come in? Or we just done a demo at a store today and we sold X amount of bags. So we're in this fortunate position that every day there's something happening that energizes not just me, but everyone in the team. And I think we've got this special moment in time, as when these early stage startups where you are growing fast, there's just a lot of magic happening.
Yeah.
And 99% of people never heard of us, which is what I always try and educate the team, is like, in our little foodie world, like Love Corn's got a pretty decent profile within the foodie world. But in the mainstream world, no one's heard of us. And we can't be in an echo chamber thinking that everyone knows Love Corn. I always say to the team, like, this is still day one. Walk outside into Shoreditch High Street now and stop 10 consumers. I'm pretty confident no one's heard of us. But for me, that's what's really exciting.
Right. There's an amazing mindset thing going on here, Jamie, and I just want to sort of frame it a bit, because for some people, it could be, I've been doing this for 5 years, right? Lots of success in all these supermarkets, but I could stop 10 people in the street and they've never heard of my brand. That could be crushing. But what I'm getting from you is this sense of amazing opportunity.
Yeah, like I remember I had breakfast with the Sainsbury's buyer a few months ago, and we've been one of their most successful emerging snack brands. Little Love Corn sat alongside the likes of KP and Walker's and McCoy's and Gray's, holding our own. I remember saying to him, I went, Nathan, he said, you know what excites me so much? I said, most Sainsbury's customers haven't heard of us. So can you imagine how well we'd be doing once our brand awareness increases and more people have tried the product? So like we're still at day one with Sainsbury's. There's so much upside and so much opportunity. So
yeah,
that's what excites us.
I love it. But again, I'm getting this sense of you are choosing to create almost the reality that you want to have, rather than crushed, as I say, by we're not up there yet. I choose that this means opportunity. And that's why I just wanted to bring that out, because I think that's a really powerful mindset for people to think about in whatever they do. Founders, employees within businesses, I think you can choose that.
Yeah, and then we had another meeting last week with a US buyer, and the buyer was just so refreshing. He goes, guys, I get it. Like, building a CPG brand, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. Maybe because Gavin and I have launched Love Corn I launched Love Corn when I was 40.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to be patient. Like I've already had my career.
Right.
So I'm so fortunate to be doing this in my 40s that I'm willing to be patient and build this properly and build a really meaningful business and brand. Like, we always say is like the Love Corn will be a success if we're still on shelves in 20 years time. We don't want to be like a trend or a fad. We want to be a household snack brand. We want to be sat alongside Walkers and KP and, outside of that, all the big mainstream brands.
So again, I mean, that great, that reflection on, you said, I've had one career, very successful career already, which has given you everything that we've talked about, that has allowed you to have the successful second career. But as you say, you're not in a rush with it. It's not, let's get this thing to a certain level and then sell it. Because, and the reason I say that, I suppose, there are so many startups, I think, especially in the tech space, that is the mantra. It's let's become a unicorn, sell for $1 billion, quick in, quick out, and that's just that. Clearly in food and beverage, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, no, we want to build something special, and it's going to take a lot of time to do it. And we know we've got the right brand, we know we've got the right product, and this next phase now is just getting the right team in place just to help us execute what we want to do over the next 5+ years.
So say more a bit about that, Jamie, because if I'm not mistaken, in terms of investment, and it's a family held business, but there are investors. You still have majority control of?
We've got investors, and we've been very fortunate with our investors that they all believe in the long-term vision,
right?
And we've got patient capital. This isn't about trying to get a quick return over the next 2-3 years. And like the bubbles burst. So if we would have this conversation 4 or 5 years ago, the thesis in food and beverage was grow as fast as you can, grab as much market share as possible. Don't worry about a path to profitability. This is just about grow fast. That world's gone.
Right.
Businesses now need to have sustainable growth and demonstrate that one day they can be profitable. So in this new world, and to be fair, that's always been our strategy from the beginning. So our strategy was never to grow super fast and burn through lots of cash to deliver that growth. We want to build a sustainable business that has a path to profitability. A lot of it for your mental health as well, because being in those fast grow at all costs environment, I don't think is good for the soul.
Well, yeah, no, I mean that as has been proven. If you look at a lot of, especially I guess Silicon Valley based tech companies, a lot of them we know, whether it's the founders or the people that have worked there, have been completely burnt out by that growth at all costs mentality. So what I'm hearing is your philosophy is different to that, and I'm guessing that you, your brother, his wife, and your employees benefit from that, as you say, from a mental health point of view.
No, it's really important, which is why also getting back into the office was important as well. So I think I touched on earlier, it's like I'm in the office today on my own, but we're back in 3 days a week. We're back in Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. And do you know what I actually, because I'm speaking to other founders, and everyone's got a young team under the age of 30, and some of them are struggling to get their team back into the office.
Yeah.
And I think some of the people starting out in their career, they don't realize the importance of being in the office. They like the idea of working from home, but you and I have had this conversation before, is I look back over my career and all the training courses I went on, it goes in one ear out the other. Like how I was trained was by my colleagues around me and being in the same floor as my boss, and going in and out of, in those days it wasn't open planning. You'd have to go into my boss's office to ask a question, but I'd be in there 10 times a day asking questions and learning in real time. But I always remember it was really nice. So none of us predicted that last lockdown last January. Remember that first weekend? I think the Sunday night, first weekend of Jan. We're all gearing up to go back into the office that week, and then Boris on the Monday announced another lockdown for another 3 months. So I just used that opportunity to go over to the US and work from our New Jersey office where my brother's based. And I remember in the early March, I get an email from our marketing manager, Lily. He goes, Jamie, do you mind if I start working from a co-working space? I said, I need to get out of the house. I was like, of course. Because up until that point, I was very reluctant to say to the team that they needed to work in an office because the government was advising work from home. And then a couple of days later, another one person in the team went, oh, do you mind if I join Lily in the co-working space? And then by the time I got back from the US, I'd been over there 3-4 months. The whole team had self-policed themselves that they were back, and they were working in a co-working space for 3 days out of 5. And I just loved that because they realized the importance of being in the same room together and learning off each other. And again, the word of the podcast is energizing off each other.
yeah. Sort of helping with their mojo, the collective mojo.
Yeah.
Of the team.
And that's when I knew that I'd hired right, because these guys were self-aware to know the importance of working in an office together.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, I'm old, up until pre-COVID, I was old school. Like, I was like a massive believer in the office 5 days a week. I was taught you have to be at your desk at 9. If you get your desk at 9:01, you're late. Why are you late?
Yes, when the office became school. I remember those days as well.
But yeah, I like this. I think this new model of 3 days in the office and 2 days at home is the perfect balance.
But there you go. You said your team they had the self-awareness to decide as a group, this is what we want to do. They chose 3 days out of 5, and that's what you're still doing. As that's what's helped you encourage, or rather, you haven't had to encourage them back into the office. They chose to come back in.
Yeah. No, I love that, because I speak to other founders, and some of the team members are less reluctant.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a little bit like you don't know what you don't know. And when you're starting your career in your early 20s to mid 20s, why you wouldn't realize how important the office is.
Yeah.
But for me, if I never came into the office, I wouldn't have been trained and learnt the way that I've become, which has been very beneficial to how Love Corn's launched. But actually, more importantly, is friends for life were made through coming to the office. My clients became my good friends, hence why I'm on a podcast with you now.
Exactly. And frankly, my friend, I met my wife in the office.
Yeah.
Zenith Optimedia. So an agency that I used to work at, and used to come in, used to know people there exceptionally well. And I think that, for people listening, I know there are a lot of people in the agency world, MDs and CEOs, who are wrestling with exactly that challenge: is how am I encouraging in the right way the younger elements of the team to come into the office, because they know the benefits, because like you and me, they've lived through it. But how can we enable the younger team members to see that and feel it? And I think what you said there, it's the understanding that, believe me, your career will be enhanced by being around people you can learn from, as you say, in real time. I love that. The idea of learn, do is really important. Like, as you say, on the job.
Yeah, but my observation is it's a lot of the older generation that they've got comfortable now with working from home.
Oh, right. Less of a commute, for example, perhaps. Yes.
Yeah. But they've got a duty to the younger generation to lead by example and get back into the office and understand that the best way for them to be developed is to be sat around their peers and the more experienced senior people in the team, and just learning and observing and absorbing.
The role modeling, as you are doing there, by you're coming in, as you say, at least 3 days, probably 4 days into the office when you're there. You're also there, from what I'm hearing, you're leading the line at sampling events, and you're there
100%.
giving up your weekends and doing all of that.
Yeah, the only thing that matters for us as a brand is people trying our product. We all agree that this is the most important thing to build the brand, then yeah, of course, I want to be out there engaging with consumers. And guess what? Every interaction, I learn something different. And this is what I always say to the team is like, never get complacent. Like, don't think you know the Love Corn vision or how we position ourselves, because me as founder, I'm still learning. Like how I positioned Love Corn 6 months ago to today has evolved. So I look back at the Sainsbury's deck from April 2017 and I cringe at it.
Okay.
I can't believe I presented it, but at the time I thought it was amazing. And I look at our vision now, and it's just evolved. But our vision has evolved by interacting with our customers, and every customer interaction, I learn something new.
Yeah.
So so going back to that whole thing that no one's ever heard of us, even though this is year 6.
Yeah.
And never get complacent on the vision and the positioning, and why Love Corn matters as an everyday snack.
Yeah, got it. And I love that sense of this sense. It's moving, it is changing, the markets are dynamic, people's tastes and habits change. And so if you have a fixed position or positioning of a brand, how can that, as you say, evolve in a really agile way to suit what the market, what customers want, as you say, in 6 months' time? So I love that sense. And there's something else I wanted to ask you, Jamie, because I'm really interested in this, and I talk to a lot of my clients about this. How do you celebrate? How do you mark success? Because we look at the huge success that we've talked about. We go back to you, your brother, his wife, your kitchen table, working on it, and then Planet Organic, Sainsbury's, and all the momentum that happened. And you mentioned there's some small successes and obviously big ones, but how do you personally and as a team celebrate success?
Well, fortunately, having that career in media sales, we were taught how to celebrate wins. So I just encourage for us as a team, like if we have a good win, let's go out, like finish work on a Thursday at 4 or 5 and put my card behind the bar and let's have a couple of drinks and celebrate that win. And then what we're also trying to do is just think of stuff outside of just more cultural stuff as well as a team. Right. So like team events, but that's one thing we probably need to get better at. And again, like I think we've gone out of practice because from 18 months to 2 years, we've sat at home. So we've kind of forgotten the importance of getting out. So like we've got our first hire in the Northwest, Louise. We hired her about 3 months ago, so she's coming down on Thursday, spending the afternoon. We're having a bit of a strategy session, and then we're all going out for drinks and dinner on Thursday night, and everyone's super excited. And that's something that we want to get in the diary that happens every couple of months.
Great. So that, so marking occasions like that, bringing a new member of the team in, just making it a relatively regular thing. And again, it won't surprise you. Lots of the founders I've spoken to, if they look back, they go, we didn't really celebrate as much as we should have because we're just moving on to the next thing and the next thing. And I think it's really important to mark those moments.
Oh no, 100%. So the one that I'm proudest of is, and it was the Christmas before lockdown. So Sophie had just got us onto Eurostar, on board.
Yeah.
And we were launching in the December. So I had Christmas lunch in Soho in everyone's diary. And then the night before I went, guys, I said, you need to meet me at 7 a.m. And they were like, what? And I'm like, yeah, meet me at 7 a.m. and bring your passport. We're going to Paris for the day for lunch.
Oh, wow.
And what was amazing is some people in the team had never been to Paris before. So it was an amazing little moment where we all met at St. Pancras at 7 a.m., got onto the Eurostar, went over to Paris for the day, had lunch, and then came back that evening. And it was amazing. And there was Love Corn buy on board on Eurostar. So it was a beautiful moment.
Excellent. And I bet, it's, as you say, it's getting on for a little while ago now, but I bet that is very clear in all the memories of all your team who were there then, that's what happened.
Yeah. And that's the kind of mindset we've got at Love Corn. So like just before we lockdown hit, we started Culture Club, and every team member gets to choose where we go on a night out. And the first one we did was Theo wanted to go and see, do you know Touching the Void, the book and the story of the guy.
Yeah, amazing book. Yeah, about the mountain climber.
Yeah, well, that was in the theatre. So yes. As a team, this was literally the beginning of March 2020. We kickstarted Culture Club, and we wanted to see Touching the Void, and then that was going to be the plan. Every 2 months, we were going to do something cultural. Right. And then obviously COVID hit. So again, we're looking to bring that back now that we're all back in the office, and just bringing back that. Sometimes you forget, again, as you touched on, you forget to celebrate the wins, and it's important that we need to be experiencing fun stuff as a team that just doesn't necessarily involve going to the pub.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I come back to that word you've used really well, that momentum. There's momentum of the business and sales, obviously, but momentum for the team, a sense of doing the job well, celebrating the success, and then move on to the next thing. I think having these flags in the ground are super important. Jamie, I was just going to start to wind us down, although I don't really want this chat to end because it's just been so fulfilling for me, and just all these insights that you've shared and the and your reflections on what's really gone well for you and the reasons why. But I sort of always try and finish on looking at, coming back to you personally. And you said, your Mojo inextricably linked to the success of the brand. But are there some things that you need to do, like every day, little habits maybe, that help your Mojo? And you mentioned, getting up and out and coming into the office. You mentioned the importance of natural light. Are there other things that you find useful for you?
Well, I just think most founders that I speak to, we're very good at ignoring the good stuff, because the good stuff is the norm, and you can let some of the the stuff that's not going too well, like, really can get you down or grind you. So what I'm trying to do all the time is, whenever those negative thoughts come into my brain, just like zoom out and just like focus on all the positives and all the amazing stuff that's happening with the business. And I think I've again, maybe because it's old age, but yeah, I'm pretty good now at like zooming out and just like really focusing on all the great stuff that's happening. And even if some days I'm, just making sure that I'm on good form coming into the office, which is important for the team.
Yeah. So I love that. That's what I'm hearing. The power of perspective. I think that's what your experience and wisdom gives you, is that, like, just maybe again, it's a choice thing. It's like, just how bad is this thing that's happened? In the scheme of things, it ain't so bad. And actually, as you say, come back to all the successes. We are, founders, definitely, us as human beings, we tend to have more negative thoughts than we have positive thoughts, unfortunately. So if you can shift that, as I say, make that choice about the mindset and choose to zoom out and zoom into the positive, that sounds like it's really important.
I think what I've learned is everything fixes itself in the end. So like, if you look back at any time, even in my time in media and time at Lovecorn, anytime there's been a problem, guess what? We've always fixed it in the end. So if you go in with that mentality, then I think it's going to set you up, because eventually you're going to fix it.
Love it. Jamie, I have so much enjoyed this conversation. I know we've had to wait 3 odd years to do it, but here we are finishing the 4th series with what I think has just been a wonderful conversation, full of founder gold dust, but real great reflection and fabulous stories. So I really appreciate you coming on, Jamie. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. Good seeing you.
Wow. What a way to end a series. It really felt like we were back in Soho House 3 years ago having a good old chat. Jamie really brought so much to this podcast, and I thank you for that, mate. And I'm really glad we eventually got there with the recording. Again, a long list of really valuable takeouts. Where to start on this one? I mean, I have to mention the 19-year apprenticeship. What a great way to frame your experience in a way that shows that nothing is wasted. All experience is valuable and moves you forward. It goes to show how biding your time and then fully committing when the right thing comes your way is so important. And I love Jamie's positive choice mindset to focus on what they can control as a business, i.e. the inputs, and trust that their product and brand are more than good enough. And then to see being a relative unknown brand as a huge opportunity rather than a disappointment after 5 or 6 years of doing this. And then right at the end, that piece about the founder tendency to often ignore the good stuff and focus on the bad, the negative, the errors. This kind of grinds you down over time. So take Jamie's advice. So zoom out, look at the bigger picture, find perspective, and really understand what you have achieved and take great energy from that. Okay, here we are. This is a bit of a bittersweet moment. Such a great way to finish the series, but part of me never wants a series to end, and this founder series has been particularly wonderful. It's been a joy, an education, a great opportunity. I hope you've loved it. So please remember that little review when you have a couple of minutes. I really appreciate that. But end we must, but I'll be back with that summary episode within 2 weeks, and then a little break for the summer before coming back to you with something new in September. Series 5 is going to be all about the people who can support your mojo. I'm calling them the practitioners. I'll be talking to teachers, gurus, mentors, coaches, experts in many fields about their mojo story and how what they specialise in can really help you and your mojo. Really can't wait for this one. I've got about half my guests already lined up, but if you know somebody who would make a great mojo guest, do let me know. My email is in the show notes. Okay, thank you all so much for listening. Thanks for sharing this podcast with so many people. Thanks for all the feedback and reviews. And I truly hope that your mojo continues to flow.